Hi there, how are you? Ready for another tutorial? This time my tutorial is about the passive voice, okay? But let me tell you first that everything I'm going to explain to you is already on this presentation, the passive voice, which you can find included in the materials I uploaded on Schoology related to Unit 8A. And this is the main grammar point in that unit, okay? And also this presentation includes a link to my dear Emma from English. Are you familiar with her already? Well, I have included many times tutorials by her because of some reasons. Her English accent is wonderful. She's so lovely and her explanations and examples are so clear. So her presentation lasts about 14 minutes, but it's worth watching it. So don't miss it, right? But just to do it in a different way, because you will see your presentation anyway, let me use these other explanations, right? Okay, first of all, what's the difference between using active or passive? Remember the active voice, an active sentence always has the subject first, then the verb, and then the objects. Why is that? Because the first person, the object of the sentence is the person that does the action of the verb. Okay, that's the main difference. In the passive, the subject of the passive sentence is never the person who does the action, right? So, look at this sentence. I drank 2 cups of coffee. Okay, in this case, the subject is I, the verb is drank, and the object is 2 cups of coffee, right? But we don't always make sentences like this, in this way. We might want to put the object first because of many reasons, but mainly because we don't want to say who did something. We'll see the other reasons a little bit ahead. For example, look at this sentence. Many bottles of wine were drunk at the party last night. If you don't want to be indiscreet, then you don't mention who drank so many bottles of wine. So you change it into the passive to emphasize the fact, the action, and not mention the person who did, or the person who did the actions, right? How do we make the changes between active or passive? Well, this is the golden rule. You always use the verb to be as the auxiliary for the passive and followed by the past participle. But depending on the verb of the active sentence, the verb to be has to be in the same tense as the main verb in the active sentence. Let me show you these changes. Well, all these changes are very clearly explained in the presentation I mentioned before in this one, right? But for example, if we apply this rule in the present simple, I make a cake. So a cake is the object, which becomes the subject of the passive. And then this make is in the present simple. So I use the present simple of the verb to be, is, and then the past participle of the main verb in the sentence, is made by me. The agent, when it's not important, because we are emphasizing the action here, you don't need to mention the agent, okay? Present continuous, I'm making a cake. So, applying the rule, I use the present continuous of the verb to be, followed by the past participle of the main verb, is being made. Okay? And applying this rule, I do all the changes from active to passive. Okay? I won't continue explaining that because this is very clear, and as I said, in your presentation is very, very clearly explained. Right. When should we use the passive? So when we want to change the focus of attention of a sentence. For example, the Mona Lisa was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. Here, instead of emphasizing the author, we want to emphasize the painting. When who or what causes the action is unknown, unimportant, or obvious, and we don't need to mention it. For example, he was arrested. Obviously, he was arrested by the police. So it's obvious, so he was arrested. Or my bike has been stolen. Do we know who stole the bike? No, so we cannot mention it. Okay? In scientific writing, the chemical is placed in a test tube and blah, 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 blah. Right? In formal writing, instead of using someone, people, they, so we can say the brochure will be finished next month. Okay? Again, we don't need to use the active. Or in order to put the information at the end of a sentence to improve the style of writing in a report, in a book, in a novel. Free books are used regularly in the class, right? Or when the subject is very long also for questions of style. But then we can find the passive in reporting structures. For example, used in newspapers, reports, and other more formal writing. So instead of saying people think that, or they say that, they expect that, because who these people are, who is they, who, we don't know and we don't care. So we are interested in the action, right? So instead of that, if we are a journalist, we say it is thought that, it is said that, it is expected that, se piensa, se dice, se cree, se espera que. Okay? For example, people think that the clothing chain Looking Good is in trouble. They say that the shop is offering huge discounts and they expect that the company will close next month. If I am a professional journalist, I would rather say it is thought that the clothing chain Looking Good is in trouble, or it is said that the shop is offering huge discounts, or it is expected that the company will close next month. Why do we do this? Because we are a journalist, we don't want to be subjective, and the way to show everybody that we want to be objective and put a distance between the fact and my opinion is to make it more objective and use this structure. Se piensa, se dice, se espera que. Okay? And the structure is this. You will see that in your presentation. The most common verbs used in this way are verbs expressing opinions or thoughts, like this here, right? Another way to put it is by using another structure. Like Looking Good is thought to be in trouble. This is even more emphatic for this structure. Or the shop is said to be offering huge discounts. Or the company is expected to close next month. Instead of it is thought that Looking Good is in trouble, we can even more emphasize Looking Good, the chain store, saying this. Looking Good is thought to be in trouble. Or it is said that the shop is offering huge discounts. We can also say the shop is said to be offering huge discounts. Or it is expected that the company is closed next month. We can say the company is expected to close next month. Okay? Don't panic. Don't get stressed. These structures seem like, wow, this is really difficult. So my recommendation is to avoid learning by heart these structures. Avoid learning this. Just follow your instincts. Look, I'm going to show you a very recent example of this. This is a piece of news from the BBC yesterday. You know, I'm sorry to mention the coronavirus, but this is the real world nowadays. Okay, so can you recognize this man? He's Boris Johnson. Good, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. So he was admitted to hospital over his symptoms. He has been suffering from, or he has been having these symptoms, persistent symptoms, so they decided to admit him to hospital. So Boris Johnson admitted to hospital. This is a headline, so they made it shorter. The real version would be Boris Johnson was admitted to hospital. Okay. Of course, this is obvious that who took the decisions were the doctors, but we are not going to mention them because the real and important fact was Boris Johnson was admitted. But if we scroll down, we find the complete passive structure. Boris Johnson has been admitted to hospital. Okay? More, he was taken to a London hospital on Sunday, right? But look at here. It is said to be a precautionary step. It is said, people say, doctors say, or the government say, but it is said more objective, keeping a distance and emphasizing the fact. The Prime Minister remains in charge of the government, but the Foreign Secretary is expected to chair a coronavirus meeting. To chair a meeting means to be in charge of the meeting, presidir una reunión. Okay, so it is expected, the Foreign Secretary is expected to chair this meeting. And again, in a statement, a Downing Street spokeswoman, the person who is in charge of transmitting the news and the information, said, on the advice of his doctor, the Prime Minister has tonight been admitted to hospital. Okay, so look at, it is said to be the Foreign Secretary is expected to chair. So see how this reported passive structure is so common in newspapers. Okay, to put this distance between the journalist, the person giving this piece of news, and to make it more objective. Okay, is that clear? So again, let me insist on you watching this presentation. Is really, really clear, I promise, even more clear than my explanations on this tutorial. And of course, don't miss our dear Emma and her beautiful accent and explanations. Okay, so I hope that was useful. Take care. Bye bye.